Welcome to the Driver's Line. I'm Greg.
And I'm Jordan.
And today, we've got a conversation.
Our conversation today comes from a reader email.
Yes.
And today, Greg's going to read it off his phone. How impressive is that? Huh?
Yes. I have my phone and I have the email pulled up from one of our super fans, Andrew.
All right.
Writes in, says, "You guys talk about everything but Honda. I want to hear what you think about Honda." All right. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We thought about this and we were like, we haven't talked too much about Honda. We've only kind of touched on it here and there in different spaces. And, it's one of the greatest automakers out there. So we want to give it some airtime as well. So we wanted to break it up and we wanted to talk about our favorite past Honda, our favorite present Honda, and our favorite upcoming future Honda.
There you go. So we're each going to give you one pick. Hopefully they're not too similar. We haven't discussed this at all before today.
As usual. So when we get mad at each other.
So we'll see what happens.
For stealing picks.
So we're going to start off with our old picks, old Honda.
Old Honda.
Right,
I'll kick this off. Because this is one of my favorite cars. It's one that I've almost bought and regret not buying, frankly, just because of where it's really gone in value. I considered this before buying my 2009, my most recent Miata. And really was very, very close to buying a lovely Rio Yellow Honda S2000.
Oh, that would have been a sweet pick.
Yes. A little bit out of the range of budget at that time, but I could have made it work, especially now, because about one for the similar miles and condition would be, about $40,000 now, which I could have bought for about $20,000. Yeah, had all matching VIN tags, was just a wonderful example, and I probably should have bought it, but
That's all right, Greg.
We'll eventually do another episode on the ones that got away. That one will be featured again. But anyways, love the S2000. It started off with that 2-liter high revving 4-cylinder and the AP2 generation. Then they kind of went ahead and, revised it, the AP2 and gave it the 2.2-liter, a little bit more torque, a little bit less snap oversteer. So they kind of revised the chassis a little bit and made it a little bit more docile. But either flavor is just a fantastic little car. These things are holding their value like crazy just because there's nothing really made like it now. Like the Miata is inching closer to that S2000 performance, and it's taken like the ND2 to almost kind of start knocking on that door of what the S2000 was doing back in '99.
That's crazy. I mean, I think that's a great pick, and like you said, there's not many cars in modern day history that really tackle that like carnal, visceral sports car attitude like the S2000 does, and I think that's why it's holding its value. I mean,
absolutely. You're
not seeing that as much now. It's obviously with all the computer-generated steering inputs and throttle inputs. I mean, it is a true sports car experience.
Yeah, so the driver's car, it's got that really cool gauge cluster. Yeah. Peaky 4-cylinder that you got to rev to the moon to get out of it. But I mean, when you rev that K series up, it just makes so much power.
Yeah,
it's just a wonderful, wonderful engine.
Yeah. Well, speaking of wonderful engines and sports car driving experiences, nope, I did not pick the original Honda Ridgeline for my old Honda. I know. We're all surprised. Yes. Nor did I pick a K car.
Honda Odyssey.
Nope, not an Odyssey either. But I think the OG Odyssey is pretty cool.
Of course you do, Van Guy.
No, my pick was, and unfortunately it's a car that has gone a little bit in a different direction recently, and that's the original Honda NSX.
No.
So debuting at the 1989 Chicago Auto Show, so tying back to our...
So Chicago used to have exciting debuts.
Yeah, go figure, right?
Versus Kia minivans and sedans, but
so this was kind of Honda's attempt to take on Ferrari. Their stated benchmark was the Ferrari V8. They wanted to beat that with their Honda engines with a V6, but also provide reliability, which is what Honda's known for, right?
Yeah, back in this vintage, right? I love the choice, obviously, and back in this vintage, like, supercars were not things that you could drive every day. They were uncomfortable. Like, you see people like with the Countachs, they have to have the door open to back up, and they were reliability nightmares because one little thing went wrong, you have to do an engine out service of your Ferrari, and this, remediated all of those issues. Like, it was just such a fantastic car, and like the chassis was unmatched because, it was developed with Ayrton Senna.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Which is, you can't get better than that.
No, you literally can't.
And Honda was the first supercar maker to have an all-aluminum chassis for their supercar, which is incredible to me that Honda was the first one to break through the technology and the first one with an all-aluminum V6 in that chassis. So I think it really took Honda to the next level in terms of their engineering, put them on the map that, hey, we can produce this car that has a reliable relatively powerful engine. I mean, you're talking 0-60 times right in the mid-5s. I think for that time, that was pretty respectable.
Yeah, it was right kind of on par with a lot of the other competition, so it wasn't, trailing too far if it was.
Yeah, so you got great styling. We had the pop-up headlights until they took them away.
Until the revision and 2001-ish.
Yeah. So,
wasn't great with the revision, but, the early ones look great.
Yeah, and still holding their value.
Oh, absolutely. They're just climbing every day in value. It's just, love watching the auction of these.
One day I will find one. I would love to own one. That would be amazing.
Yes, German boy's going to buy a Honda, right?
You never know. So that would be my old school Honda pick for sure.
Good choice. Yeah. Good choice. Yeah. All right. So going on to our modern pick. All right. I'm not. No. New Pilot looks great though. I will say. But I'm going to go with something a little sportier. I am a huge fan of the FL5 Civic Type R.
As am I. That was my pick.
Well, part of the reason I love the FL5 over the FK8 is just it basically fixed every issue that people have with the FK8. It kind of got rid of that anime styling, improved the interior, made it a lot more nice, comfortable place to be, improved the performance, now up to 315 horsepower, improved the handling. So literally it is just the next evolution, iteration, whatever you want to call it, of the Civic Type R, and it is just a massively compelling package. And just from like a personal anecdote, when I was doing a track day down at Road Atlanta, I was in the Cayman R. I got passed by a Civic Type R. Which is a car with less horsepower and probably a little bit more weight. So that guy was A, better driver than me, and B, I think had better rubber than me. But nonetheless, that little thing motored.
It does. 0-60 in under 5 seconds. That is insane performance number for a 4-cylinder hot hatch. And listen, don't beat up yourself too much. 1.02 Gs on the skid pad for front-wheel drive hatchback. That's better than a Golf R.
Yeah, absolutely.
Drive.
And I looked up his lightning lap after that happened to me, and to try to make myself feel a little bit better. And Car and Driver got it around grand at VIR in 2:58, which is a real fast time. So that puts it on par with the C6 Grand Sport, puts it on par with the 991S, and the Giulia Quadrifoglio, which, as we know, is one of the best performance sedans of all time.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm
just trying to make myself feel better here. That I got passed by a Civic, but it's all good. When you're in HPDE, the E stands for education. You're trying to learn. It's not a competition.
It's a good experience.
Yes.
No, obviously the Civic Type R is a fantastic vehicle. Clearly, it's a standout in the Honda lineup right now because, it is bringing a level of competition, a level of performance to a relatively affordable price, considering its competition when there's no markup. So good luck with that.
Yeah, if you can go on MSRP, it actually is a massive value.
Yeah.
So I think the prices are starting to normalize a little bit now, but you might have to wait a little bit.
Yeah, you will. But yeah, I think it's a fantastic vehicle. So shout out to Honda for that one.
Yeah.
All right, respect. So moving from current day to the future of Honda, we have a couple of picks for you. Some more recent than others, perhaps. I'm kind of going way out there, I'll be honest with you, with my pick.
Oh, yeah?
I know that they have a couple of vehicles coming up, but I was actually really taken aback with Honda's concepts that they debuted at CES this year. And
the Prelude.
Not the Prelude. Sorry.
Looks like a price.
I'm not vibing with the Prelude. I know I might get some hate mail for that, but it's just not my thing. I think it deviates a fair amount from the original. My pick is something that is still a concept, but I went ahead and picked it only because Honda has gone on record in stating that they are using it as a means to jump off into their all-electric models. We do have an upcoming electric model debuting that's shared with GM, but these models are Honda-based, and it's the Concept Zero. And they had two versions of it, a Saloon, which is kind of more sedan-looking wedge shape, and they had a van version, as well, which I think is really cool because it has those seats that face each other. Because every minivan concept ever has those.
Oh, they totally
and they never go into production.
No, they don't.
but I think it really showcases what Honda is known for, and that is intelligent design. And I think they're taking their electric platform ideas, they're throwing like a retro touch on the styling, and they're really pushing the boundaries with what you can do with an electric vehicle, as opposed to like bloated soap bars like the Mercedes EQ lineup and the Volkswagen ID lineup. So it's a really nice sharp wedge shape. It's kind of like playing off of what like Hyundai has been kind of doing with their 80s retro vibe.
Right.
And I think Honda would really just nail that perfectly if they could put these into production. So.
Awesome. Yeah. I honestly don't know a ton about those, so I can't comment, but it sounds like definitely a unique and interesting path forward for our friends from Honda.
Yeah. What'd you go with?
I went with something a little bit more recent. So this is something that is definitely going into production. It is literally sitting there waiting to be delivered once they figure out some issues.
Oh no! I think I know where we're going with this.
So, talking about the Honda Prologue. So this is something that Honda co-developed with General Motors, and General Motors, the version is the Blazer EV, which, as we kind of know, there's a stop sale on right now. So Honda, I think, is holding back on delivering Prologues to customers until a lot of these issues are kind of hammered out. But the Prologue is just a really, really interesting concept, and so it's really Honda's first serious electric vehicle. It's going to be the first mass market EV. It's kind of debuting, the next generation for what we can expect from Honda. It's got the new lettering on the back. It looks really fancy. And I think it shows how, Honda's plan to compete with Toyota is going to look forward in the future, right? So Toyota is very focused on ICE and hybrids, right? And so I think Honda said, hey, we're going to go more towards an EV. We're going to start building these electric vehicles. We're still going to build some hybrids out there too, but we're going to start making that progression happen a little faster. Whereas, Toyota's saying, EVs aren't going to be a thing for quite some time, and we're going to go ahead and hold off a little bit. And so the other thing that makes the Prologue interesting is the value that it offers over the Blazer, which is literally the same vehicle. So it starts at $47,000, goes all the way up to $57,000 for that elite touring model, whereas the Blazer is over $60,000 for the RS model.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Prologue is an attractive vehicle for the price. I mean, considering what else is out there in the EV market. And it comes with the Honda name and dealership network, which is well known to be excellent to deal with. So I think a lot of folks who are in the Honda stable who might be hesitant to jump into the EV realm have a really good option here because, I mean, it is technically an award-winning platform here.
It is.
And all the interior materials and layout is very familiar to a Honda owner.
And that's what Honda's so good at doing, right? Is it making their cars familiar. Every single Honda model that's made is familiar to someone that has owned a Honda, and that's just one of the things that they are just have such an achievement on.
For sure. I mean, I think it could be a good seller for them. We'll see. We'll see once they get rolling.
Once all the ultimatum issues kind of get hammered out.
It's got to update some code.
Yeah, some code. Some OTA updates.
Well, who knows what the future holds for Honda? Really, we'll see. Because I think a lot of their strength does lie in their engineering. So once it kind of falls into their lap, that's what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much for watching.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us on The Driver's Line.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe to make sure you don't miss a thing.